Oh, Bennett, this really has been a great Christmas. It's been a great year.
Yeah. Oh, Dad, I got you a gift.
You got something for me?
Yeah.
In the stocking?
Mhm.
Oh.
It's something really nice you probably like.
Oh. Feels like it might be a game. Sega Genesis. You got me something for Sega?
He's not gonna like it.
Bubsy.
Yep, you've been a naughty boy this year.
Back in the 80s and 90s when I was growing up, it was hard to find out what games were good and what games weren't, and to know which games you should be getting. We didn't have the internet to just look it up. If you're lucky, your parents bought you some magazines and you could read those, but sometimes they weren't very reliable.
Get those magazines.
Maybe ask your friends. So I ended up with some pretty bad games. So I'm going to tell you some of the bad and frustrating games that I grew up with. One of the people we like to watch is the Angry Video Game Nerd.
Yeah, he's the star.
He's made a career out of talking about bad games, and I actually grew up with quite a few of the same bad games, so some of them you might recognize from there if you're familiar with him. One of the first games to talk about is Bart versus the Space Mutants.
Bart, I hate that game.
This game was the first Simpsons game that I was really aware of, and of course everyone loved Simpsons at the time. It was new and very popular, and it's one of those cases where I just was excited about the license, and they knew kids would just be excited to play something from one of their favorite cartoons. They didn't bother to make it any good. This is a game where I never beat the first level. I had no idea what to do. I play it over and over again. You're supposed to try to turn everything red to purple, I think, in this first one, and it just doesn't make any sense. Nothing makes sense in it, and without some kind of guide or help, you're never going to figure it out. And I never did, so boo to that one.
Boo!
Another bad game that I had, similarly, because the license was Wayne's World for the Super Nintendo. Wayne's World is a funny comedy and very popular at the time, but why they would make it into a video game, I don't know. I don't know how you would make it into a good video game, but they made it into a terrible platformer. Yeah, they didn't bother to try to make it into a good video game.
Because you're Wayne.
It's ugly looking, it's hard to play, it's annoying to listen to, and it's another game that's kind of hard to get too far.
She doesn't like it.
It's okay. The bad games are upsetting her. It's okay.
I'll go get you a good game. What do you want, Call of Duty Black Ops 3?
Another bad licensed game I had for the NES was Friday the 13th.
That game's kind of good. I played it. Troy and Jason was threatening to kill me.
No, it's not good, and it's very hard to figure out what to do, and it's very hard to know where to go. There's fun things about it, and I played it a lot, but I could never figure out exactly what I was doing. Nothing ever really made sense, and it was just kind of annoying and difficult, especially navigating. Similarly, another licensed game that I got that I ended up having a very hard time with was the first Ninja Turtles game for the NES. This game, I'd always get stuck on the level where you have to swim around and there's like electric seaweed for some reason that you can't touch, and you have to get to all the bombs before the timer goes off. I love the second Ninja Turtles game, the arcade game for the NES.
Ninja Turtles.
We've had fun playing through that whole game.
Yeah, that game.
That one's great, but the first one, it's just no good. One game, I don't know if it's actually a bad game. I haven't gone back to try it as an adult, but some reason I had a game called Faxanadu. And this game,
It sounds funny.
I really like the visuals and the sound. It's kind of a classic looking game. But I couldn't figure out what the heck to do with this thing. It made no sense to me. It's kind of has RPG elements, which I wasn't familiar with at the time. I remember trying to get my dad to help me. He couldn't figure out what to do. I remember trying to use items and buy items, and nothing really made sense to me. Maybe it's not truly a bad game, but for me when I was a little kid, it wasn't a good game.
You're a little, and that's why.
Well, maybe. Maybe I'll try that one again.
You're a little kid.
Well, next I'm going to talk about a game that was on the Angry Video Game Nerd. That's one of his more famous ones, but I'm not sure if it's really a bad game either. This is Bugs Bunny's Birthday Blowout, I think it's called.
He wasn't.
I didn't own the game, but I rented the game a lot.
Now we own it.
Well, now we own it, but growing up, it was one of the ones I would always pick to rent. I don't know why I liked it. I still like it. I think it's fun. I'm not sure why it has the reputation of being so bad.
I think it's because, it's because it doesn't make sense, what's happening really, and why, you're fighting everyone. I don't know. It seems kind of good though.
No, I like it. It's not very difficult. It's kind of repetitive, so I guess those are 2 strikes, but I don't know. I was fine with it. One of the worst games that I had was called Jim Powers Lost in the Third Dimension, and it was for the Super Nintendo. And the reason I bought this game, and this is how they got me, it came with 3D glasses you could wear. So
3D?
Yes, and the 3D was built into the game, so when you played it and looked at it, everything would jump out at you. Except it's one of the ugliest, worst looking games. All the scrolling they put into it and the way the visuals look, I look at it now and it makes me want to throw up. The movement is just awful. The music I don't remember being too great, and it was just really hard. There was another one where I couldn't get past the first level, and I didn't even want to. It was just that was probably the game I most regret buying.
Well, let's get the hammer.
Alright, let's talk about Bubsy. Claws Encounters of the Furred Kind. Ugh.
Yeah.
That title says it right there. So Bubsy. You've never played Bubsy. You don't know the horror of Bubsy.
I have no idea what it is.
Let me tell you about Bubsy.
Yeah.
So in the 90s, everyone wanted to make platformers with cool animals like Sonic. And everyone wanted to have attitude.
Let's get some attitude.
Well, this Bubsy was the epitome of this. He's a bobcat who likes to constantly tell really lame jokes, have bad puns. He's kind of a Sonic clone where he moves too fast. Except for him, everything's a one hit and you're dead. So that ruins the whole idea of moving fast when you have to constantly worry about bumping into bad guys. It's not like Sonic where you have rings that you can kind of save yourself and keep going. It also just has really kind of loose controls. There's this glide move that you do that only kind of works. Bubsy's constantly saying bad, annoying things. It's just hard to control. It's very frustrating. And I played that game quite a bit. One of the things about these games, besides that it was hard to know what's a good game and what's not a good game, there wasn't anyone to there was no collective consensus that you could easily find to know. So I was like, am I just bad at this game, or is this a bad game?
And that's why you got the nerd.
Well, the nerd wasn't hanging out with me then to tell me.
Nerd!
And the other kind of downer is I didn't get a lot of games. I might get a game like every 2 months. And so if I picked one of these lousy games, then I was going to be playing with it for at least a couple months because there's nothing else I could really do.
Oh no.
So it's not like now where you have so many games easy to access. It was rough. So
Rough
those
old
are
days.
some of the bad games that I had growing up. Some of the more memorable ones. I'll have to think about it. Maybe there's a part 2 down the line someday. Sometime I'll tell you about some of my favorite games growing up too.
I know one game.
What?
A wizard game. Remember the one where you're being a wizard, and then like constantly he's like saying jokes.
Gex?
Yeah, Gex.
Okay, think Bubsy is like Gex, but much worse. Bubsy was the proto Gex in a way. So this is what kind of where Gex was inspired from.
Oh, so Gex is stupid too.
Well, I like Gex a lot more. I wouldn't call Gex a bad game.
A lot of time I hear him saying something I forgot, but that's something to do with Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo, where are you?
Yeah. But, so, Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays, whatever you celebrate, and hope you have a good one.
Dot.
It's Feliz Navidad.
I heard, the last time I heard that song was when I was in kindergarten. Now I'm in 4th grade, so don't judge me.
So have a good one, from our family to yours.
Yeah. And then if you celebrate Hanukkah, happy 6 days of Christmas.
No.
I mean,
There's several things wrong with that. Yes, it's 8. And it's not Christmas, it's Hanukkah, days of Hanukkah. Well, we've got some educating to do. We'll see you later.
I have a smart brain.
Bye.
I'm smart, not dumb.